Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Metaphysical podcast with Kellie and Gail. This is episode 36, and today in real time it is 5/11/22.
Yes.
So,
Which is,
Kellie, you want to start us off because I know there's something that you wanted to talk about today.
well, Mercury retrograde is in full effect again.
Mhm.
And I say again because it's really easier for me to say when it's not than when it is. It seems like it's always in retrograde. But having said that, I had a couple of conversations today, and I had some posts that I noticed on social media with people calling out Mercury retrograde as a reason they can't start something new,
Mhm.
a reason you can't start a new project or start manifesting something that you want to bring into your life, or I can't drive anywhere because Mercury retrograde and my car may break, or I can't apply for that job or submit my resume because of Mercury retrograde. Stop. Enough. Enough. When we talk about Mercury retrograde or any planet retrograde or full moons and new moons or planetary alignments, all of those things are just a tool to help you tune in to what you want or even where you're at. Use that as a point of reflection. Am I doing what I think I need to be doing? Am I doing what I said to myself I was going to do? And leave it at that.
Mhm.
Every day of the week is named after an ancient god. Certain things were only done on certain days to appease those gods. We don't live that way anymore. That was a different time, a different world.
Mhm.
So you can just as easily, if it is your intention, manifest money or a new car or a new job or whatever it is during Mercury retrograde, during a full moon, during a new moon, any day of the week, if that is your intention. We don't maybe talk about intention as much as we should.
Mhm.
As human beings, we seem to want a scapegoat. We seem to want an excuse. You're never going to be successful in manifesting things if your intention this minute is, yes, I am totally aligned, I am totally grounded, I am bringing this into my life. And 2 hours from now, you're worrying about bringing something into your life.
Mhm.
That's not Mercury retrograde's fault. That's your fault. So I've kind of had some serious conversations this afternoon with a couple of people. Well, I didn't get that job because it was Mercury retrograde. That has nothing to do with it, truly. If you want a new job, set your intention clearly. Don't worry about where the new job's going to come from. Don't even wonder about whether you're going to get a new job or not. Set your intention. My intention is to manifest a new job. You're done. That's it. It's really that easy. But you
Well,
undo
part
it.
two is then you have to be open to opportunities that may come in.
Right. And you have to make sure you're not undoing what you did by
Mhm.
trying to find an excuse or starting to stress over it. When you've given something to the universe to take care of, don't try to take it back. You enter into a tug of war between you and the universe. And then you sit there and say, well, the universe doesn't like me. Well, it was Mercury retrograde. So I didn't get a job. No, that's you. That's you doing it to you. And when you are on a spiritual journey, when you are truly waking up at your soul level, the biggest thing for you to look at is yourself.
Mhm.
It's not the planets. It's not people in your life. It's not your bank account. It's not your car. It's not where you live. It's inside yourself. And when you start doing that, you start reflecting on yourself, you start noticing, hey, I just did an elaborate ritual to manifest this, and now I'm worried about it happening. That's why it's not happening. It's not Mercury's fault.
It's funny because always done better Mercury in retrograde. So I must just be perpetually backwards because I've always thrived at those times. So
Well, someone was pointing out Friday the 13th
that's
is
always a lucky day too.
that's the most lucky day for me. That is an awesome day for me every single time.
Hmm.
So it's just pay attention to what you're doing to yourself. I think a lot of the time we're undermining ourselves and we're too not awake
Hmm.
to see that. And that's a big key when you're starting out. You got to notice little things you do to yourself,
Hmm.
because that's really where it starts. It starts with you. It starts with you. It ends with you. So I will get off my soapbox now.
No, I think it's all relevant information. What you put out is what you get back. Everything's kind of like a boomerang effect. And so, we had this conversation earlier because I'm sure people, and so I'll just be blatant about it. So I'm having an issue with my eye right now. It is not the most attractive looking eye, which is why I have glasses on, and some of you can probably still notice that. But Kelly and I had this conversation earlier because I'm like, I really want my eye to heal. And I'm like, and I'm scared it's not going to. So what message am I really sending to the universe?
Right.
Am I creating it to stay not getting better because I'm scared that it's not going to, or am I open to receiving it getting better and moving in that direction?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And those are the things that you notice about yourself.
Mhm.
I noticed that about myself too. And my eye was, even when I'm having a bad day due to autoimmune issues, I can sit here and say, "Wah, it hurts. My eye hurts. My entire body hurts today, by the way." It just doesn't help anything.
Mhm.
When my eye several weeks ago was really hurting, um, I kept asking for healing.
Mhm.
And one evening I heard, "Aren't you a healer?" Oh,
We had that conversation before the show too, because I try these amazing multi-dimensional healing mandalas. I'm like, maybe I should use some of them with myself.
yeah.
Maybe I should print one out and put it under my own pillow.
Yep.
So it's just kind of interesting that sometimes we forget all the things that are available to us because we're so used to it always being around that sometimes it takes someone else pointing it out to you.
Yep.
Welcome to our viewers today.
Yeah.
One of the viewers wrote, I just tell people that number 13 is really just 3 plus 1 equals 4. Put a spin on it and say it's just about 4.
Whatever works. The big thing is not to buy into the whole negative hype. And
Mhm.
I was thinking about it. I'm not sure when that really started. Not 13, I know when that started, but so much emphasis on, different things. Well, you can't do this now because of this, and this. Well, that planet's not favorable now. And I know that's always been there.
Mhm.
I learned most of it just growing up, just being around different types of people.
Mhm.
But I think collectively in the last several years, we've put so much more emphasis on it. And the way I was taught was some days are more favorable, some days are other favorable, but you know what? It's all about your intention anyway. So, yeah. But that's a good one. Just say it's 4. That's good.
So, viewers, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. We will do our best to answer them. And, as I talked about last week on the show, I was on vacation last week, and, everything that could go wrong seemed to have gone wrong while I was on vacation. And it's just interesting because I went back to work this week and I'm like, whew, my vibration really doesn't match being at this place anymore. And it took me being away to
Yep.
notice that. And then what do you do when you start to notice that? Do you continue to stay in an environment that you know it's not a good match for you? Do you work on moving forward? I mean, that's where self reflection really comes in is what do you then want to do with the information that you're getting?
Yeah. And sometimes it's both.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have to prepare to move on while realizing that now maybe not the time
Mhm.
to, jump. Early in my life, somebody even bought me a T-shirt that said "Jump and the net will appear,"
Mhm.
because that's the way I lived my life.
Mhm.
Uh, Older people who were wiser than me at that time used to say that I lived my life with reckless abandon, and maybe that was a little bit of it too. But there comes a time where you have to realize that as humans in this society, right, wrong, or indifferent, we have obligations.
Mhm.
How do we balance our earthly obligations with a higher spiritual calling? And really, that is what it comes down to,
Mhm.
especially for you. It's like, how do you balance that? What is the tipping point? I think that's different for everyone.
Mhm.
But I know I ran. When I was working in a facility environment, halfway houses mostly, but we had an actual facility too. I started getting that I don't belong here, I don't belong here, I don't belong here. And I went, I quit. Bye. Gonna do something else now. But that's because I've always been that way. You
Mhm.
know, I do things as long as they're fun. And when they become not fun, and when it becomes a chore for me to continue,
Mhm.
I abandon ship. That's why I've owned so many businesses, because I do things for a while, and when they stop being fun, I sell them. I've done that with real estate. I've done that. I owned a laundromat at one time, just different businesses that I've bought and sold. I've always known I will land on my feet.
Mhm.
And I used to think that was because I had been so traumatized throughout my life that I was like, well, at least I know I'm a survivor. But I think really that's a strength,
Mhm.
or maybe it's become a strength for me, because I no longer, especially after the ugliness of 2 years ago,
Mhm.
uh, I've just realized that life is too short to be tortured every day. And when your life becomes torturous to you,
Mhm.
it's time to make some changes. So that's my 2 cents.
No,
Just
I appreciate that. As with a lot of other human beings, sometimes I have a difficult time with change.
yeah. Well,
So,
and I think everyone does. I damn near killed myself trying to make a doomed marriage work again.
mhm.
And, it was just when I went back and looked at it was fear.
Mhm.
I had been in that situation, even as uncomfortable as it was. It
Mhm.
had been 23 years of my life.
Mhm.
And it became, who was I without this other person? And the funny thing is, as hard as it was, financially mostly, quite
Mhm.
frankly, mostly it was the money. But as hard as it was, coming out the other side of it, what I found was me, and
Mhm.
a life I don't need a vacation from.
Mhm.
And I think really, ultimately, that's all of us really want. You
Mhm.
know, we want to feel comfortable in our own skin, and we want a life we don't have to take a vacation from.
Mhm.
So it kind of comes down to how much pain are you willing to put up with.
Don't know yet. We'll see.
You're getting there.
Every day, the decision becomes a little clearer.
hmm And one day you wake up and everything's different.
Mhm.
You know, and
I'd
I
like to wake up one day and my eye would be healed. I'd really
that'd be
like that.
cool. Yeah. I think as people who are more spiritually inclined,
Mhm.
um, we kind of, it's like we know, but we're not ready. But we know, but we're not ready. But we know, but we're not ready. And finally, one day I woke up, called my attorney, and said, let's get this going. I mean, it was literally that quick. Once I made a decision, that was it. And I think you'll get to that place too. I think most people who are in touch with who they really are, there comes a point where you just can't be something you're not anymore.
I did that one day at another job. One day I just walked in and quit and they didn't see it coming. I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just done. And I am very compassionate and I'm very nurturing and I do a lot of things for a lot of people. And at some point, depending on what I get back, I just reach the point where I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I have no problem like walking away or changing things or doing things.
Yeah. I always want everyone to be okay. I always try to make sure everyone else is happy.
Mhm,
And what I realized is by making sure everyone around me was happy, I was miserable.
mhm,
So you have to get to that point though. And that point is different for everyone.
mhm.
Everyone has that one thing. Um, but it is what it is. You see it, it's just not ready yet.
Mhm. Which then is a challenge to me to get ready. You do know that, right? I like a good challenge. So it's always interesting. So again, we have a few people watching. So if you have questions, please put them in the comment section, or if you're relating to the things that we talk about, please put those in the comment section. And I think one of the things that I really try and do during our podcast is to just be authentic. And sometimes when you're authentic, you have to be vulnerable because I try not to think of, oh my God, who's going to be watching this later? Am I going to get in trouble for saying this? Because those are the thoughts, you know, that go on. So it's like, how do you get out of your own head and just be in the present moment and just stay engaged in what's going on right now?
I like that. Viewers a challenge of the day. That yeah. Um, I think that's different for everyone too.
Mhm.
For a very long time, I lived my life being someone else because I sort of became a chameleon because of some ickiness that happened early in my childhood. I
Mhm.
did not grow up with a strong sense of self confidence and even self.
Mhm.
I would try to be like this for that person and like this for somebody else, and like this for over here. And it finally came to a head one day, and I realized I couldn't continue,
Mhm.
you know, and I had someone that meant the world to me get in my face and say, I don't like you like this. Well, then you don't like me because this is how I am. And that was really eye opening because what I had realized in that moment is that by trying to be everything for everyone,
Mhm.
none of the people in my life knew me.
Mhm.
They'd been around me for years, but they didn't know me because
You didn't. You didn't know you though.
I didn't know me. So growing up that way, by the time I found out who I am, I didn't care what anybody else thought. I'd
Mhm.
been so hurt by so many people who never really knew who I was that when I finally figured it out, I was like, you know what? I don't care what you
I had somebody I know say to me, "I like you as a spiritual being, not as a human being."
think. Thanks.
In other words, I want you to continue to use your gifts to help me,
Right.
but I don't want to hear about anything that's going on in your life or what's happening with you.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
I've had a similar
Hmm.
conversation with someone I thought was my friend. But I think the more of those people that reveal themselves to us,
Hmm.
the more authentic people step forward. And I have found that, you know, you cut, somebody comes to you with that they can go away. Go to the back of the line, please. Someone who used to, and I never understood why, but someone used to say to everyone that they were my best friend, and I'm like, really, really? How often do we hang out? Oh wait, we don't. Um, hmm. All those things we have. What things do we have in common? But she would say that because I would do readings for her.
Hmm.
And when I stopped, guess what happened? I was the worst person on the planet.
Yeah, I've been guilty of that. The comments about what the comment I made that
Yeah,
someone said to me is that was kind of rude and wow, that's cray cray. And
yeah,
but again, it depends where you are in your journey. That could have really hurt me and really wounded me. Or, as I chose to took it, is she's projecting her own issues onto me. I'm not the one who's really struggling with being a human being right now. She is.
right.
So
And she was
that's
using
where
me.
the compassionate part of me gets me in trouble a lot because I always the compassionate empathic part, and I'm sure other people who are compassionate and empathic will understand this, is that you can see everything that's going on and feel everything that's going on. Sometimes it's really hard to put yourself first in those situations because you can feel all the pain that
Yeah,
everybody else is going through.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I would make excuses for people.
mm,
Oh, well, they're only treating me bad because they feel bad about this. This is, and there comes a point where see that, great, wish them well, get them the hell out of your life. You will be better off. That was a really hard lesson for me to learn, and I think it's a tough one for most empaths
mhm,
because we always see the soul truth. We always see the bright side. We always, oh, but they could be so wonderful. No, 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 no. That's not what this life is
they're
about.
showing you who they really are over and over again. You have to be ready to see it.
Yeah. And
Someone
even
wrote,
after you see it, you have to be ready to get rid of them. Yeah.
yeah, sometimes you need to stand up for yourself. You definitely do. I mean, that's part of the lesson in
Right.
being human is what do you need to do for you?
Yep.
So, so just interesting. I always love where our shows just meander to. Like, we'll come up with a place to start, but it's always interesting where we go from there.
I don't think either one of us truly has control over where our show goes. I think we're guided along the path. And you know, my point of view on that is I think it's someone needs to hear it.
Mhm.
Maybe it's not someone watching live. Maybe it's someone watching a replay. Or maybe it's someone years later who stumbles across it on YouTube. I've had that happen to me several times. I used to do 3 podcasts a week, and periodically, I haven't done them for years. Periodically, I'll still get an email,
Mhm.
about that. I really liked what you said on the show the other day. And I'm like, other day? I think that was 2016, but you never know who's going to watch it. You just don't.
And that's so true. I mean, I think everything has an energy and a signature. And people ask me that about my mandalas all the time. They're like, why do they feel so powerful? Because I'm like, the energy is in it. No matter how many times it's reproduced, it will feel exactly the same. They're like, well, how does that happen? I said, that's a really good question. I don't know. They won't tell me.
Yeah,
I've asked multiple times how they
yeah,
do it.
energy juju. Yeah, that's my daughter started that one. It's just energy juju. Don't worry about how it happens.
Yeah, that I've asked for them to explain why that happens, and it's just because it's coded. It's coded to release that energy based on however it's created and whoever is creating it through me, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's interesting that I've said this before. I have several printed out and framed on my wall, and periodically, no rhyme or reason, one of them will call me, and it's the strangest thing. I'll have to get up and go walk over to that one and stare at it for a while, And, they're energy portals is what they are. And, it seems like whatever I need that day is which one it's not me being drawn to them. It's they're going over here, and I think that's just the coolest thing. Truly is.
Hence healing pictures. I should use one.
Yeah. Like my energy healing. All right, you a healer. Yeah. And sometimes my guides are, well, they're always kind of funny.
Mhm.
And because I have worked with most of them my whole life, some of them, guides float in and out as they have something to teach you.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, I'll get one that just matches my sarcasm word for word. And I always have to question that guide. Are you really of the light? Because you're sounding a little sarcastic. Who told you that sarcasm was of the dark, So they want me to mention that because someone is going to come across this. Your guides will match you. You can have the purest lily white guide ever created. And if you are having a day where everything is coming out of your mouth sarcastic, do not be surprised if you hear it from them, because they will. And they do that because they will match you. And it's sort of a humbling thing for me. It's like, okay, we're going to match you till you realize what I'm doing, and then you're going to stop.
Okay, I need to take a sidetrack for a minute because I'm
Cool.
not sure what's going on, but I have some, just like last week, I have such chills, like my body is actually shivering. Don't know who it is yet. Don't know if you're noticing it, but like I saw myself like jerking. It's because I'm actually shivering because there's an energy with me right now, and I don't know because I'm not focused on asking who it is and what's going on. But they obviously want me to pay attention.
Yes. Let
So
me know when they start being a comedian.
no idea. I mean, I don't usually get I am like so cold. This is almost as bad as when I go into places that are haunted. My body temperature just drops. And I think that's important since we're talking about guides and stuff, is you can either get really hot or you can get really cold. It's not necessarily the guide per se, but how you react to it. So start to notice, like if you're noticing things are weird, like are you really hot right now? Are you really cold? Do you feel like something is around you? Do you feel like something's going on? Do you feel like someone's trying to give you a message? I mean, because like somebody is trying to give me a message and I'm not paying attention.
I've heard so many people in the last couple of days say that, something's here and they're trying to give me a message. I don't know what it is, but I'm really cold. Before the show, I told you I had to put on an extra shirt because I was just, that something is here. But sometimes they're observing. That's what I've noticed lately. Usually, if the energy is different, I can say, "Who are you?" and I will get an answer. And I can say, what are you doing here? Do you have a message for me? Do we need to talk? Is there something coming on? And I will I will have a conversation with that being. Lately, no. Mm-mm. And I asked when I walked in here and felt how cold it was, do I need to know something? Do you need to tell me something? And I heard, nope. All righty then, we're going to go on like that didn't happen.
I know who it is now.
Good.
So I don't know how open people are going to be to this, but so there are multidimensional beings called the ice beings, and they do a lot of healing work. And so, since I was at the beginning of the show talking about my eye and wanting to heal my eye, they think it's pretty funny that they came in the middle of the show and they're literally dropping my body temperature as we speak because they're working on healing my eye. They're like almost putting me in a cryo chamber.
Yeah. Be careful what you ask for. Um, that's another thing. One of our viewers said, "How can we hone that skill?"
Mhm.
Um, it's first off, be very, very certain you want to. Um, Sometimes people go down a road because they find it interesting and they find it, oh, well, that would be so cool until you're driving down the highway one time at 80 miles an hour through West Texas and there are three beings in your back seat. Be careful what you ask for. Um, it's really it's different for each person. Usually, if you start, just notice energies.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll see flashes of light at first. Um, Sometimes you'll hear a bell. I don't know what it is with angels around me and bells, but I literally hear bells a lot of the
I hear high pitched noises in my ears when you
yeah,
do.
I hear like somebody ringing a bell. And it's always been that way for me. But everyone is different. Pay attention to what happens for you.
Mhm.
Do you get chills? Do you have a something over here that you try to look at it and it's gone? Do you hear sounds?
Mhm.
Don't go around trying to demand they have a conversation with you.
Mhm.
Through experience, I've seen a lot of people try that. And that is the surest way to attract tricksters. Let your guides and angels come to you. They will. And just notice sometimes it's such a slight sensation.
Mhm.
But if you notice when you're having them, you can pay more attention to it. And then those flashes of light will slow down for you. And maybe you'll see an actual face in the color. And then you can build on that. People try to go too far too fast. And that will just set you up for a lot of havoc in your life, which is exactly how I ended up doing paranormal investigations, by the way.
Yep, you couldn't pay me enough money to do that. I mean,
I
I was on the only time, well, I was in Ireland, and the people I was with, we went to haunted castle after haunted castle after haunted castle, and I think I talked about this. By the third day, I had on two pair of pants, three pairs of socks, three jackets, and I would still only make it in each place no more than 20 minutes. Like, I'm just going to go sit in the car now. I'm like, can't you guys feel all this energy that's like in here? Like, I would literally freeze. It
yeah,
was so funny. They're like, nope, I don't feel anything. This place is really cool. I'm like, well, there's one over there, and there's one over there, and there's one over there. They're watching you as you walk around. I'm like, how do you not see all that?
one of my first experiences in a haunted place
Hmm.
was I had someone walk through me.
Hmm.
Do not recommend it. It's just everyone is different, but when you start paying attention to the little things, you'll start experiencing the bigger things. And that's what they're telling me the whole point is. You will sometimes get guides that come through. Um, if it bothers you, I had someone talking to me once and it physically hurt my head, the tone that they were sending me. You can tell them that they need to back off, slow down, get quieter, whatever it is, but you have to let them know that they are hurting you.
Hmm.
If you don't let them know that it's bothering you, they're going to keep going. They go, okay, she's going to get it any minute now. We're just going to keep going. You have to tell them why you're asking,
Hmm.
you know. And if you ask and they still don't, then you need to banish them and get them away because that's not a being you need to be around.
I'd like my body temperature to go up a little bit now. It's
Yeah.
always interesting, and I always find it interesting when they do it in the middle of our podcast.
Yeah.
I'm like, you had all day to come in. I've been talking about my eye all day long. Why now? And I think it's an example, of showing and demonstrating. They're like, of course it is. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah.
Um, of showing like how you can start to decipher what it is and what it means and who it is and what's coming to you and why it's coming to you and things like that.
Yeah. I think, and as I'm watching the intro of many, many beings, I think the energy of this podcast is sort of like a beacon, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's bringing them in.
So we're a giant giant lighthouse for everybody on the other side to come in while we're doing the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, just funny.
Yeah, I do think, and this may be a little out there for some of our viewers, but they're telling me I need to say it anyway. I think right now, the energies on the planet and the stuff that's happening galactically, we have watchers, more watchers than we've had. And they're the ones who are just standing around. They don't want to communicate.
Mhm.
They're not trying to get in the way. They're just trying to watch, which is their job.
Mhm.
And who they're reporting back to may not be so good, but mostly they're just watching.
Mhm. And there's birds circling, just like last week,
Yeah,
right outside my window.
yeah. It's they're trying to see what we're gonna do.
Mhm.
Um, so many things are in flux right now on the whole planet. And never mind in just this country. I mean, worldwide, there's energies that are off. Um, I was chatting with a friend of mine in South Africa, and you know, she's saying the same thing.
Mhm.
There are beings, you feel them, she sees them. Generally, I don't physically see these watchers, but she does. And they're just standing there. They're just watching. They're just trying to see which way is humanity going to go,
I mean the guardians.
because we're teetering. These are a little different than guardians. These are actually sent here only to watch. They have no other purpose. They have no powers. They are just sent here to watch. They're like cyborg. That's a good name. That's apparently they're sort of like alien robots. They're just sent here to watch, and they are here in vast numbers right now.
So
We're
we're
sort of teetering, you
yeah,
know.
we're kind of getting close to the end point. Is there anything that you want to do to sum up that, or we can talk about it further next week because it's not going to change drastically by then?
No, it's not going to change. But I think the main thing is go inside yourself when you're looking for answers.
Mhm.
Don't look out there. Don't use anything else for an excuse. Just be good with yourself, and then you can move forward. Don't don't run before you've learned to crawl. And too many people do that, and it's causing a lot of problems for a lot of people.
Hmm.
That's all I
All
have.
right. With that, we will sign off for this one, and we will see you guys all again next week. Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.